How you doing? So, I think there's someone staff looking, but this thing stopped working with one of my guys in it.
Jesus Christ.
It's alright. If you see a staff member interested in the morning,
Yes, oh my God.
Hey friends, I have been missing, haven't I? Thank you, John Rope, for the inquiry earlier today. Say, Dan, we haven't heard from you for a week. Where have you been? I've just been happily busy. Not busy doing artwork, however. A very different kind of week. I played music 3 times, Tuesday, Wednesday, Thursday. And exactly, you guys haven't ever. Someday you think I'm just kidding. He says he's a musician, but he never plays anything. You know, this is after all an art channel, isn't it? Daily art adventure, art, not musical art. Anyway, someday I will play for you. I promise. Be that as it may, I have been very occupied. Playing with friends in Durham, North Carolina. What do you play? Someone might ask. That is a very good question. And if you knew me, you would laugh. As all my friends who do know me laugh every time one of their friends asks that question. So here's the honest answer. I play basically 4 instruments. Oh, okay, so that's not. Hello, Artist Ross. Good to be back in the saddle. I have really, really missed you guys. Missed being here. So I play 4 instruments. My main instrument, the only one that I would claim to have any proficiency at whatsoever, would be the trumpet. And maybe a close second to that is guitar, but I have to qualify that because it's mostly classical guitar, or I should say classical-ish guitar. I don't know what I play, but I don't play rock and roll much. I got a nice electric guitar, and I can play a few rock riffs. Anyway, okay, never mind. So I play trumpet, guitar, flutes and whistles, and harmonica, blues harp. Us cool people call it a harp. You not cool people call it a harmonica. A harmonica is what your weird Uncle Al used to play at family reunions when he would break out the harmonica and play. That, my friends, is a harmonica. I don't play one of those. I play a blues harp. I jest partly. And so what did I... Oh, those are the 4 instruments I play, okay? It just so happens that if you play a harmonica, typically, you play a dozen of them. You have 1 for each key. Unless you are, of course, Joel Levy, the god of harmonica players, then you can play every single key on 1 harmonica. But alas, most of us are not Joel Levy. In fact, none of us even knew that was even remotely possible until this guy named Joel Levy showed up and showed the rest of the world what could be done on the lowly harmonica. I just missed somebody's comment. Sorry about that. Try again. I'll try to catch it next time. Anyway, so if you play harmonica, you have a dozen of them, okay? And I also play, as I said, flutes and whistles, especially whistles. What is a whistle, you ask? It goes by many names. They all are the same thing. Celtic whistle, penny whistle, tin whistle, Irish whistle, whistle. Those are whistles. Okay, so very much a Celtic instrument, Irish instrument. You know, several years ago we got a great big boost, us whistle players, with James Cameron's Titanic movie and the soundtrack by James Horner, I think. We also got a big boost on Lord of the Rings. Da 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 da, etc., etc. The Hobbit theme in Lord of the Rings. Anyway, if you're a Celtic whistle fan, you know very well. I mean, if you're a Celtic music fan, then you know very well what a whistle is. If you're not, yeah, that's all right. You're just normal. But if you play a whistle, very much like the harmonica, you have maybe 12 of them on a stand there beside you. Are you getting the picture? And if you play guitar, as I do, then you have 4 guitars, and maybe a ukulele, all standing around you when you play. And if you play trumpet, you play flugelhorn. So I have trumpet, flugelhorn, 5 guitars, 22 whistles, and 18 harmonicas, plus a few various, saxophone, and a few various and sundry other things that I play. So, provoked by my friends the other day, I did in fact count while I was all set up. Oh, plus all of that is being played, again, for what it's worth, all of those instruments are being played through an absolute high-tech phalanx of pedals, synthesizers, recorders, loop stations, special effects, and so on. So even though I'm not a rock guitar player, I have a pedal board that would make most rock guitarists green with envy. I have the mother of all pedal boards. 2 synthesizers, two synthesizers, 2 loop stations, one special effects processor, yada, 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 yada. Some of you are getting the idea. So when I'm up there playing, I'm surrounded by, the other day, 46 musical instruments and a veritable nuclear submarine worth of electronics. So there you go. Yes, you'll hear me play someday. Keep your expectations low. Really do. Keep your expectations low. There are some people who say I'm as good at music as I am at art. I don't think they're right, but some people say that. So for what it's worth. I've spent as many years as a full-time musician as I have as a full-time artist, which is most of my adult life. That is true. My favorite thing in music is actually arranging and choral conducting. There, okay, that's enough about that. Let's talk about art. I forgot my long brushes. My van is parked about a 3-minute walk from here, so I don't feel like I have time to go again. And this, of course, is a wedding reception, so I'm going to broadcast just as long as I think I can get away with it. When all the people get here, you guys you're not quite in the way down there, but you're almost in the way. So I'll just have to use my best judgment. I'll broadcast as long as I can, and then quit when I have to. Okay? Good to be back. Thanks for watching. Please leave some comments, and I hope to. I'll be back in a few. As you can perhaps see, I'm not from the angle, not from where I'm standing, which is not my preference. I like to be able to just turn around and paint, but I don't think this evening that presents the best vantage point of this room. So I am painting, I'm standing, as you can see, up on a dais, dais, you say, up on a landing, which is nice because people will be able to see me really well. But I thought about it for a while, and I don't think that a view looking down on the dance floor is behind me. I don't think that looking down, you can see part of the floor. So there's this beautiful marble floor you can see there, checkerboard floor, which I look forward to painting. But I don't think that looking down on the bride and groom is a terribly flattering or good angle. So even though I've seen it, other people do it, and probably I've done it myself, but I just don't remember. It would be good if I was that kind of wedding painter that tried to do a portrait, if you will, or a quick sketch of everybody in the wedding party. This would be a good angle, looking down on everybody. But of course, I don't like that style. I hope to do a good portrait of the bride and groom. Everybody else just gets an abstract impression. Anyway, so I'm painting as if I were standing down there looking back this way, and I've got that photograph on my backup phone here. And I know you're kind of far away. Maybe at the next break, I might bring you up close temporarily so that you can see a little bit better what's going on here. And then I'll move you back out of the way when the wedding starts. When the reception starts. I think the wedding is already going on outdoors in the side yard of this establishment, again, which is called Carolina Inn, one of the fancy, I think it's a 5-star hotel, I'm not sure, I think so. One of the fancy places in the greater Raleigh triangle. And hang on just a second, I want to make sure that this phone is actually powering up. It is, okay. The picture goes dim on me. You know, Susan, yeah, I didn't get an invitation either, really. I just came to work. My youngest son's reception was in this very room. This is I think the second wedding that I've done in the Carolina Inn, I believe. I know you can't at all see what I'm doing right now. You'll just have to trust me that I'm drawing with pencils and trying to, capture the essence of this space, the basic bones of the architecture here. I'm taking certainly a bit of a chance by doing a vertical painting. Most of my paintings, as you may know, most of my wedding paintings are definitely horizontal. And but I just feel like it's a beautiful room. I'll show it to you in a few minutes. It's a beautiful room, and for some reason, it shows off better in a vertical format. And of course, this means the bride and groom are going to be pretty prominent. Doggone it. I better do a good job. I really better do a good job with the bride and groom. Or this painting's going to be a royal bomb. Well, that's not true. What will happen is, if I don't do a good job tonight, I'll take it home and finish it, which is what I did with my last painting. So, we'll see. There was a season in my wedding paintings where I was, for the bride and groom, I was doing the old grid trick. You know the grid trick for rendering? But I've now, it was taking too long to do the mechanics of the grid. And you were still, even after all that, you were still left with all kinds of things that didn't line up. So the last 5 or 6 weddings that I've done without a grid. Just the hardest part for me and again, I don't consider myself that good at portraits. Don't feel sorry for me. I'm not being humble. I'm just being, I think, fairly objective, fairly realistic. The hard part for me is doing 2 figures. And I would feel a lot more confident, honestly, feel quite a bit more confident just doing a portrait of one person in a painting. Does that make sense? But doing 2 really does complicate matters a bit. So that's part of the reason I was using the grid trick, is because I was insecure about trying to render 2 figures in a space relating to each other. But again, as you can see, I probably won't do that tonight. Probably reserve the right to do it if I want to. But I have found it more advantageous not to do the grid. So we'll see. As you can see, I just splashed a big yellow, orange, red glaze on top of the blue, on top of the drawing. I've drawn the subject matter, I've drawn the architecture now twice. Once with brushes with blue paint, and then once with pencil. And I think I'm going to go ahead and keep right on drawing. Once again with maybe a purplish blue. Well, that's what I did last time. How about purple and a little magenta? So even redder than last time. And wherever I believe my previous marks, trust them, I repeat them, I go over them just perhaps in some way. But I've changed my mind a lot. Like these pillars, I don't know if you can see this from there, but you know they've jittered back and forth a little bit so far in this. So this is the 3rd time that I'm drawing. With each drawing, I try to get a little bit more realistic. Hey, if you weren't watching me, my last broadcast where I was painting last Friday evening, 8 days ago, I was painting in Nashville, Tennessee. And I right there on the spur of the moment while I was talking to my viewers, I came up with a fresh description of my painting technique. And I'm quite excited about it. Let me tell it to you again, especially in case you missed it, which I'm assuming most of you did. Here it is. Good painting. This applies to my painting, but I really think it's not just me. This is a good description of good painting. I've never used this language before. It is painting in many distinct, discrete, identifiable, I'm just trying to say the same thing over and over. Those are not three separate things. Layers. Painting in several distinct layers. Phases. Layers. Each layer is quite abstract. But what's the word I'm looking for? But the product of all the layers, when all is said and done, when all the layers are done, the painting is quite realistic. Okay? I think that's a pretty good description. And it's quite different from the fastidious, hyper-realistic, stuff that, granted, some of my friends do, and some of them beat me in competitions sometimes. And I do realism sometimes, tongue painting, I do it sometimes because it's fun. And there is a place for hyper-realism, if you will. I'm being, I think, a little bit magnanimous. I'm being a little bit generous here, I think. Because every time, on the other hand, every time I see a really good painting, forgive me for using that judgment, good, but, Hello, Mark, good to hear from you. Every time I see a good painting, like I did this afternoon at home on Google, our TV is on sometimes, and if it's just on, it's a smart TV, so it's not broadcasting anything. Google supplies images to your living room. You know what I'm talking about? So one of the things they post classic pieces of art, many old paintings, and they post many photographs. Anyway, so a painting came up this afternoon, and I immediately sat up, so to speak, internally, said, "Whoa, look at that!" And I said to my grandchildren, "Look at that, kids! That is a great painting." I consider it part of my responsibility and a pleasure, for sure, to twist the minds of any children that are living in my home. I say twist, of course, in quotation marks. I actually believe the very opposite of that. It's my privilege to influence. So when I see good artwork, I go, "Wow, look at that artwork." And they all go, "Wow." I did the same thing with my children when they were little, and I think they turned out pretty good. Anyway, this painting that came up on was again what I call a good painting. And again, I forgive me for that judgment, but that's good painting is painting which is done in several layers. Every single layer is quite abstract. Now, even though, like right now, I'm drawing quite carefully, right? But no one would look at this drawing the way it is right now and say, "Wow, photorealism, dude." Not going to happen, right? That is not what this is. Clearly, it is not that. So I contend that this is fairly abstract. Good painting. Many distinct layers, discrete, identifiable layers. Layers identifiable as layers. So there's not really confusion like, well, did he just start another layer, or is that the same one? And hello again. Good to see you. Very good. Good to see you. Look forward to hearing you play. And each layer is abstract, but the sum, the product of all these layers is realism. That's just one that certainly describes my painting process. I think it describes Rembrandt and so on. Does not describe so much. Well, no, does not describe William Bouguereau, whose paintings I also like. So there you go. Call me inconsistent. Check. Guilty as charged. Not perfectly consistent. And I do like realism. I just don't believe it's the best. I like it. I do it sometimes. In fact, I had somebody on one of my videos the other day criticize me, sort of. That's all right. Saying, well, that I had evidently on the video I had said that this kind of painting is difficult, but wrongly, frankly, wrongly. Now, if I was a kind of artist who only did impressionistic painting, then I think he'd have a little bit more of an argument. But I'm probably a better realistic painter than whoever that was. There's about a 99.9% chance of that. Go to my website, Dan Nelson Art. Look at illustrations and automotive. Those two, and portraiture. Those three categories all have definite realism in them, and I can do realism, but I don't consider it my best work. Okay, time for a break. Plus, I'm getting myself in a whole lot of trouble, saying all kinds of inflammatory things. By the way, one of the challenges here tonight is because of where I'm standing. The rugs that I always throw rugs down on the floor. They're very small. Hey, I'm going to take a minute and just to show you this room. Let me show you the room just for fun. This is the only time I'm going to be able to show it to you. Sitting up behind me. We have been together, me and this band, several times before. They're very good. I am going to wear their plug. This room is so hot. Acoustically hot, I'm talking about. Whew. So I'm going to go ahead and do a layer of white. And if you've been following me lately, I used to like to wait for all of this to dry. My chune. Chune, that's spelled C-H-U-N-E. Chune. Change my chune. By the way, interesting conundrum, interesting visual challenge here. I really do like the painting, this room that I'm in. The architecture I showed to you a minute ago is quite fetching, and the checkerboard floor is a big part of that charm, in my opinion. So, and everybody that knows this room is very familiar with the checkerboard floor. That's the one thing we really remember about this room, I think. So it absolutely has to be here. But at the same time, I don't want this painting to be about with a checkerboard floor. Does that make sense? I like it. It's got to be there. But it can't be overpowering. So a real delicate dance of getting it in there. The bride and the groom are going to be right here somewhere. Hello. Thank you. Thank you. I just did something. I don't know if you could see it. Probably not. Oh, I was going to move you guys temporarily, wasn't I? Sorry about that. Let me try that again. But here again, right now, I'm doing something slightly unusual, and that is I'm sort of erasing a mistake, making my change of mind. I usually tell my students I do not erase. This, you know what I mean by erase. Cover up don't cover up, paint over your mistake. Just leave them there. That is generally true, especially for students, because students, when they make a mistake, they tend to beat themselves up emotionally, so they're really anxious to cover their tracks and, make it look like they didn't make a mistake. So that's part of the reason why I tell students don't cover. But on the other hand, there is another mitigating factor, and that is that many times you have to clean things up. Otherwise, you'll get lost. In the next step, I won't remember. I'll accidentally, if I don't clean it up sometimes, some things, I'll accidentally repaint the mistake. I'll follow the wrong line. So sometimes you do have to clean up. So what I just did there is moved my pillars. They were here originally, and I moved them there. And that, in fact, is where I want them to stay. And also, there's a ledge in the floor, in the ceiling up here. Okay, I'm just about to the point where I can't do much more. I need the bride and groom to show up. And that means everybody else shows up too. But, and I hope that the bride and groom like a vertical painting. Again, I'm taking a bit of a chance, a bit of a gamble, because most of my wedding paintings are horizontal. If they are committed to that, then I'm screwed. I have to start over. Well, hello, friends. Welcome back. I don't know how well you can hear me, and I'm sorry if you're getting static. But I am back. I got some beautiful pictures of the bride and groom during their first dance. And so I've just started trying to rough them in acrylics. Very rough initially. Beautiful bride and groom. He is very tall. She's a little bit short, so they're contrasting in height. But they're both handsome and beautiful. And so here we go. The first thing I want to do is paint so loosely that I can't possibly fall in love with any strokes that I make, so that I can step back then and decide if that's actually where I want them on the canvas. I don't think I do. I don't think I want them quite that high. So if I hurry up, I've just dipped this. So it's the bridegroom's head, instead of there, I want it more like right there. So let's try that again. Groom's head about here. Now, while I'm at it though, do I want him exactly center or slightly off? I mean, normally slightly off would be the answer, right? So, but that rule is, I think, is somewhat, that off-center rule is somewhat mitigated by other factors when it comes to a wedding portrait. Anyway, I just moved them a tiny bit to the right here. Let's see if I like that. So again, and here's where painting with two hands really helps, because you can paint faster and you can paint looser. It's like your brain can keep up with one hand, if you know what I mean. Some of you who feel like you need to get looser, you really need to try this two-handed thing. Okay, once again, let me step aside here, not fall down the stairs, and see if I like that. I think I do. So let's make his head just a tiny bit bigger. And how far down do I want them to go? Yeah, her dress comes back pretty far. Yeah, that might be right. Okay. While it's still wet, again, I said a moment ago, I'll zoom in as much as I can here. I want to paint loosely enough so that I can't really accidentally fall in love with any of these preliminary marks that I make. Some of you will know what I mean by that, especially when you're doing portraits. It's easy to accidentally capture something, with a stroke so perfectly. An arm, a neck, an angle, an angle of the head or something. That you lose your judgment because you like that mark so well that but it might be in the wrong place. So you violate yourself in order to keep a beautiful mark, and too often that mark is in the wrong place. So anyway, I'm trying to keep it loose. For what it's worth, the bride and groom truly did an exceptional dance. They had obviously practiced. It was very sweet, passionate, entertaining, dramatic. It was a lot of fun. It's a lot of fun. Okay, her dress has one hump and two hump, and I'm gonna do what I normally do, which is idealize their shapes just a little bit. That might be too much. It's finding that balance between idealized. So I'm going to make their heads a little bit bigger now. That.
Now, what's the ear thing for?
I'm talking to YouTube people.
Oh my gosh.
I'm broadcasting. I'm not going to wear it all night because.
What you're doing.
Yeah, exactly.
Coming along, man.
Hey, man.
It's good. It's real good.
You're a Jesus guy.
Oh yeah. I love it. I love it.
I could tell. Isn't it fun to do wedding?
When he got the braid, I was like,
Yes, me too. Me too. Good. You pray from that end, I'll pray from this end.
we got it covered.
Okay, boutonniere right there, and a bit of a collar right there. And again, now painting in this way, this is not, for instance, this is not the way Francis Spate, whose paintings I absolutely drool over. This is not the way he recommends painting. He says, find a mark in your subject. Find a shoulder, find a mark in the subject matter somewhere that you think you can replicate fairly. Make that mark. Make it very, very, very carefully. And then he begins building off that one confident mark, if you will. The one mark that he feels like is pretty accurate and pretty important. And then he kind of works out from there. In other words, he's very, very careful in his drawing from the get-go. And maybe when I'm a better artist, I'll do that.
You the artist?
I am.
Are we supposed to put our, are we supposed to paint it?
Yeah, no. This is one you just watch. But that's not what I am doing. That's not what I do most of the time. I have tried that at times. Instead, I'm saying, no, I want to be freer than that. Oh, I'm not as good as Francis as, did I say, I said the wrong name. Did I say Francis Spate? That's not what I meant. I meant Richard Schmid. Francis Spate is another good artist, but he didn't do portraits. Anyway, so there you go. Time for a break, and I don't know how long my microphone batteries will last. Not very long, so I'll use these very intermittently throughout the evening. Okay, be back in a few minutes.